desiblitz.com.
Wanted to ask you, what got you into writing?
I don't know. I guess I was always writing, whether it was sketches or stories or whatever it was for my YouTube channel anyway, since I was young. So it was something that I was used to. Storytelling is, a passion of mine. And I never really thought I would be in a position where I would turn around and say that I'm an author now. But yeah, I just saw a gap in the market and I just wanted to make people laugh and smile in different ways, not just visually, but, by also creating a story in a book. So yeah, it was something definitely new for me, but I'm definitely enjoying the experience.
You mentioned that there was a gap in the market. So can you go into a bit more detail? Was it because there wasn't many protagonists that were brown?
Yeah, I mean, I remember in 2017, all the books that were published in the UK, I think only 1% of all those books had a main character that was Asian or black, which I think is ridiculous, especially when you look at the UK and how diverse it is and how many, how many people from all around the world we all live here, and I just feel that only having 1% of books that kind of represent a different community other than white, I just thought is very disappointing for everyone. So I remember seeing that, and I really wanted to make a difference, and yeah, I think that even when I was young, I didn't really have the opportunity, not the opportunity, but I don't think that I was really invested in reading and picking up a book. And I'm pretty sure that maybe if I saw maybe a book with a main character that looks kind of like me, maybe it might have influenced me or inspired me to pick it up and start reading from an early age. So yeah, hopefully we can give more opportunities for kids to kind of start reading.
Anyway, because I did such a good job of fighting off those aliens, I got recruited by this top secret spy organization called The Agency. When they found out what I've done, they made me a spy in training. That's right, me. I was about to become the Asian James Bond, the brown Jason Bourne, the Muslim Inspector Gadget. And about time too. My skills were wasted at school. Problem was, nothing happened. Seriously, not one phone call. Not one mission. Where was my training? Where was my license to kill? Where was all the spy gadgets? I didn't even have a proper mobile phone. And that's where the story begins.
Little Badman that we have in book form, how similar is he to yourself, would you say?
Oh, well, I mean, he always gets into trouble, which it's pretty me, really. Yeah, that's pretty me. Yeah, I mean, because I obviously started with Diary of a Badman, a character that I play on my YouTube channel still, and I wanted to tell a story about him when he was young. And Diary of a Badman is kind of like me, but the exaggerated version. So yeah, there are definitely elements of Hamza in the Diary of a Badman world, in the book world, that was a lot like me. But obviously I added a few things here and there. But yeah, it's kind of weird because when I do write sketches and I'm doing it for Badman, I kind of am writing it as myself, but in just another world. So yeah, there is definitely similarities there, unfortunately.
No, it's really interesting because I read it myself personally, and the first line, as soon as I read that first line, I just thought of Badman from YouTube.
Yeah,
that's what I heard it in, which again, it's kind of surreal in a way, but it was really amazing. So who did you have in mind? Who was your target audience, or was it, again, you were hoping everyone could relate to it?
Yeah, I think that, I mean, the book is, catered for 8 to 12s. But me and Henry, my very good friend and who helped me write the book, we wanted to kind of create a story that, let's just say as an example, a parent decides to pick up and read to their son or their daughter. We wanted them to laugh as well. We wanted them to kind of have a good time as well. So we kept that in mind early on. So even though it's a children's book, but yeah, a lot of people, like a lot of my fans are much older and they've given it a go and they're like, oh, I really actually enjoyed this. And I think it's kind of cool as well because yeah, we added, a few jokes for the adults, but yeah, we just kind of just made it easier for them just to kind of be invested in this new fun childish world. So yeah, even though it's for kids, we definitely kept in mind to create this story that would be fun for anyone, and that's the beauty of comedy as well. Like if you get it right, it's universal and everyone can have a laugh.
12 years old, 1 week into my summer holidays, and forced to use my dad's rubbish old Nokia to ring Agent Akbar. "Hello," said the deep voice at the other end of the line. Yo, what one, Agent Akbar?" I replied. "Hamza, is that you?" "Yeah, bro, long time no speak." "You phoned me this morning." "Yeah, but it feels like longer because of our good relationship." "As I keep telling you," Agent Akbar sighed, "none of this happens overnight. The agency will make contact with you when we are ready. This line is for emergencies only." "This is an emergency, man. I'm bored. If I'm going to be a world-famous spy, I'm going to need a mission." "There are no world-famous spies, Hamza. That is the point. We are a secret organization." "You know what I mean. If I'm one of you now, you've got to give me something to get my teeth into." "But you are not one of us yet. You are still in training." "But you ain't giving me no training." "Have patience." "Like a doctor?" "No, that's spelled differently." "Come on, man, please. This is torture." "When the time is right, we will contact you."
Personally, myself, I was able to have a really good chuckle while I was reading the book because he was a brown character. You have that more of a relatability as well. So looking at Hamza in the book and his relationships, for example, with his mother and his father, was that, again, did that have a personal touch to it?
Yeah, I think so. I think with all my stuff, I think that one of the best ways of making people laugh is just speaking the truth. And for some weird reason, when you speak the truth and someone else can connect to that truth, they find it funny. And that's what it was, really. I just kind of looked at obviously I'm from a Pakistani background. I look at how my mum is, how my dad is, my aunties, my uncles, and there'll be certain things that they would do that all my friends could kind of relate to, and even people who are not even Asian or not Bengali or India or not, even people who are African or Spanish or it's crazy. So yeah, I just I looked at my own world, I looked at the characters around me, and yeah, and I kind of put that in the book. And obviously I over exaggerated it, and you're gonna do that, but there is definitely a lot of truth to the world and to the relationships with Badman and his family. Yeah.
So you obviously wrote the books with Henry White. So what was that like, and how was his input again beneficial?
Oh yeah, because first of all, my spelling is terrible. Like it's horrible. It's horrendous. Actually, it could actually be considered a sin how bad my spelling is. So I definitely needed Henry for that. Me and Henry have known each other for a while. We've a lot of people don't know this, but quite a few years back, BBC wanted to commission Diary of a Badman. No one actually knows this. So I partnered up with Henry, and BBC basically got us together. We started writing and we wrote the first episode, and it was actually, I don't want to blow my own trumpet, but it was hilarious. And then the week of when everything was going to be finalized, BBC announced that they were now going to be only on iPlayer. I think that's for BBC Three. And I just thought, I don't want to do online stuff. So I kind of like hesitantly, but I pulled out because I was like, I'm already very comfortable with the online world that I have on my own YouTube channel. So yeah, that's how we met anyway, and we've had a good friendship since then. And yeah, it only sounded it was only right that I worked on this with him, because when I first started knowing about his work, he was actually through his writing in animation. So he just felt like the perfect fit, and then he's brilliant. He's super talented as well. So yeah, very happy to work with him.
Hamza! Ah! I yelled, spinning around. Is that my phone? Demanded my dad, staring at me with the little red Nokia I was holding. What? This whole thing? I replied, looking innocent. Nah, probably just a coincidence. We must just shop at the same Poundland. Give me that, he snarled, snatching it out of my hand. If I catch you using my phone again, I will glue your hands to your feet, drop you into a barrel of dal, and ship you straight to Pakistan. Why do you keep threatening me like that? We both know Mum ain't ever gonna let you ship me off to Pakistan. Nonsense! She said I could not send you in a crate. She said nothing about a barrel. Whatever. There ain't no way I'm going to Pakistan while Mum's got a say in it. Don't count on it, boy. You keep acting like a hooligan, and sooner or later, she will come round to the idea. Who you calling hooligan? Huh, my dad laughed. Who do you think? Stealing my phone? Breaking my windows? Trapping a seagull in the kitchen? Hey, that's not fair. That was the seagull's fault.
One thing that really struck with me as well was the perception that Hamza had of Pakistan, again, before he had even been there. But then when he arrived there, he was like, this isn't Pakistan, that kind of thing. So again, how important do you think that was, the fact that you did incorporate Pakistan into this?
Yeah, I mean, for me, being, as I said, a Pakistani, like, I was very proud. And it's really funny. It's like, a lot of the times I would obviously take the mick out of, the things that we do, our traditions and Pakistani people in general. But the reason why I actually do that is actually because I love Pakistan, and I'm very proud to be Pakistani. So I try to incorporate that in my work. So I think that because obviously we wrote the first book, which was based in the UK. It's called Little Bad Man and the Invasion of the Killer Aunties, and that came out last year. So me and Henry spoke, and I was like, look, if we do another one, if we're lucky and fortunate to do another one, I would love for him to go back to Pakistan, to his roots. And I just think that we were very fortunate to get the second book, and it was just a dream of mine to kind of have Bad Man. Even like in terms of if I ever did a movie, I would love to do a movie of Bad Man in Pakistan. I would love, or even a vlog, because I haven't been Pakistan for I think 15 years. Wow. So like even going to Pakistan now, I would actually want to record it and record my experience, because I know it will be an incredible one. So yeah.
So we had from the Killer Aunties, and again, we know how dangerous they are.
Right.
And again, we went to the time traveling teacher of doom. So again, how did the process change in any way from your first book to your second book?
No, I don't think it. I think it was, if anything, easier, because I mean, with the first book, you have to keep in mind, okay, what's the tone, what's the world, what's the characters. So when you're actually making the second book, you already have answered all of that. You're just kind of, it's just an extension of what you've already built. So if anything, the second book was much easier than the first. The first one was really hard. We spent I think a year just getting everything right, the world, the tone, and the characters. But once we got that, we were flying. So yeah, the second book wasn't actually as hard as the first one. But I think the only thing that was harder was, because this is all new to me, but one thing that I always instill in myself is, if I do something again, I have to do it bigger, I have to do it better, it has to be funnier. And I think there was a lot of pressure in kind of making sure that this book was, if not as good as the first one, even better. And I think we accomplished that. So yeah, that was the only thing that I found that was harder, the pressure of just making it better.
No, that's understandable. So again, now so I'm assuming you definitely must have heard feedback from family, again from friends. What was the reaction like with family, friends and fans?
I mean, they all love it, but they're family and friends, so they have to say that, innit? Like, they're not going to say, oh, Hamza, that was pretty rubbish. Like, you should just, I don't know, just put in your dad's shop for the rest of your life. They're going to be, yeah, so I can't really take their words seriously. I mean, they've told me that they love it. So if they're lying, that's that's between them and God and Judgment Day. That's not my problem. But no, I mean the response has been amazing, and even through social media, just the messages that I'm getting from fans, and everyone's tagging me that they've ordered the book, and it's actually it's really special. It really is. It means a lot to us actually, because I think we're making a difference. We're making a change, and I think it's really good for the kids. So yeah, this is definitely a special one.
Oh, that's great. And again, definitely for the kids. So I know that you yourself are a YouTube ambassador.
Yeah.
Well, for change. So again, how has that helped with your writing? Has it related to your writing in any way?
No, not. I think not for the book. But I think that being an ambassador for YouTube, first of all, was like one of the best things that has ever happened to me, because obviously YouTube is kind of what made me, and for them to see all the work that I've done and say, look, we want you to be our ambassador now, and just being able to have that kind of relationship with YouTube now, it's the best thing ever. And I think the best thing about it was being an ambassador. It actually, in terms of writing, I was able to work on other projects, short films that were more serious. So if you go on my YouTube channel, Hamza Productions, you will see so the last film that I made was Hate, and that kind of tackled extremism, but not extremism as you think, but actually the right wing, and it was definitely more serious and more dark, and it was a huge budget, and we had a great time filming it. And then I made this other short film called Boys Don't Cry, and it touches toxic masculinity, and that went viral, and that was literally one of the best things I feel like I've ever done on my YouTube channel so far. And then I've done like a short film on bullying. I've done a poem, a spoken word piece on Islamophobia. I've done quite a few different projects that I wouldn't normally do, and I think that's kind of like the best thing about being a YouTube ambassador. I was able to kind of broaden out and do things that I wouldn't have done necessarily just like that naturally. So yeah, it's definitely opened up a new world for me in terms of like the drama and the acting side of it. So yeah, that was quite cool.
No, it is, and plus it's always a pleasure to see you on screen all the time, because you never fail to make everyone laugh and smile.
Thank you so much.
Tough question now. What would you prefer, YouTube or writing?
It's a hard one. If I have to be completely honest, YouTube is still kind of like, as I said, it's what made me. I will never kind of like want to ever leave YouTube, even if I'm getting 1 million views or just one view. I just love YouTube, and I appreciate them for kind of allowing me to have that platform to kind of make my own brand where I'm now, whether I'm on TV or with my own book or all these kind of opportunities. It came from YouTube, so that's great. So yeah, I would say YouTube, and then also like with YouTube, when you do a video, you have comments, you can see everyone's reaction, and you have that kind of connection with your fans. Whereas the book, it takes a while. You have to wait for them to read. Some people are really slow readers. It might take a month or two or whatever. So yeah, but I still enjoy them both in different ways. But yeah, definitely YouTube's kind of you can't compete with YouTube, because that's kind of what made me.
No, that I can completely understand. And again, we hope that you never do quit YouTube.
Yeah.
Looking at the book again,
yeah,
the illustrations, how did they come about? Obviously, we know that you've got them throughout the book as well.
Yeah.
So how did Little Bad Man Over Here come into existence, as well as the rest of the characters?
Yeah, it was actually a very fun process. Obviously, we're working with Puffin and Penguin, who are like the biggest in the game in terms of like children's books, and yeah, I didn't know what I didn't know what to do. I was like, look, I just want the illustrations to be funny and just enjoyable. So yeah, they threw out some options, and I can't pronounce his name, Alexei Bishkov. I think I pronounce it. I always get it wrong, but it's fine. I'm Pakistani, so I have a disadvantage in pronouncing things properly. But yeah, he's a fantastic illustrator. Straight away, I was like, yep, he's the one. And just the way he drew like little bad man and the dad and all the aunties, especially from the first one with the killer aunties that got like the jalebis and stuff. It was literally like he just got the world and he got our vision and yeah, definitely the illustrations are a big part of the story.
They really did make me smile. I love the little animations even throughout. I thought it was a really, really good touch.
Yeah.
Again, now, if we take a look at, obviously we know the world again has been struck by COVID-19.
Yeah.
So many businesses have been affected.
Yeah.
Would you say that it's had a direct impact on your writing, on the journey and getting the second book published?
In terms of the writing, no, because I mean, that's the best thing about writing. You can do it anywhere in your own time. So in that sense, it wasn't as bad. But I think, yeah, COVID-19 has affected everyone, I think, and not just me, everyone. And I think that with this book as well, like one thing that I was really scared about was obviously last year when my first book came out, we did a tour. So we went all around the UK and we were touring and we were going to schools, 300, 400, 500 kids at a time. And it was, insane. We can't do that now. So everything just has to be digital and I have to kind of like work extra hard to kind of promote it and it's not even that, like I don't mind that, but like not being able to see the kids and their reaction and yeah, it was sad. So I think, yeah, in some ways it did kind of slow down the process and we have to kind of like from a business standpoint, we have to think about things differently. But yeah, and it's just not as fun now. Like, that's what I love so much about the first book, was just about going on tour and just seeing how happy the kids were, getting this book. So yeah, it definitely has affected it in many ways.
Yeah, right. Just yesterday, I saw you use a cat as a napkin. He enjoyed it, shouted my dad. He was smiling. Cats can't smile, I shouted back. Cats can smile, he shouted even louder. You're impossible, I said, throwing my hands up. You're impossible, he replied. Right, I'm leaving, and I said, storming towards the front door. Good, he yelled. Good, I yelled back.
Is what's on the horizon then for Hamza Arshad in terms of Little Bad Man? Can we expect more?
Hopefully, if no one buys it, then there's not. You just got to enjoy the last two. But yeah, no, I've just got to put my all into it, and hopefully everyone will just buy it, whether it's for their son or daughter or nephew or niece or little cousin. I just think it's just such a great step for especially the Asian community for having this main character that is from an Asian background, and it's on a mainstream publication with Puffin and Penguin, and it's nationwide, well, even around the world. And I think that's wicked, and I think that us being able to have a story that we can relate to from culture and traditions and our kind of like world, I think that's just wicked. So yeah, I just want to push this as well as I can, and if God allows me to have a third, a fourth or fifth book, amazing. If not, yeah.
Definitely. Thank you so much for your time today. Yeah.
Can I just ask, what's behind it? Like, what's in the cupboard? Like, what's in the cupboard? Like, what is it?
Loads and loads and loads of clothes.
Oh, okay, clothes. Okay, then cool. Okay.
Sorry. There's no one in there.
I hope not. That'd be really a weird way to end the interview, yeah. But thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Make sure you get the copy, Little Bad Man and the Time Traveling Teacher of Doom. It's the best book in the world.